Suddenly it is autumn and I must read horror books. Hi, welcome to my cozy little corner on the internet. My name is Jazz and I love to read. Another thing I love just as much as books is the cozy vibes of autumn. And in Australia, we have just entered autumn. It is finally starting to get a little bit colder. And for some reason, I associate the cold weather exclusively with horror. I don't know why. I love horror books, although I haven't read many, but this week that will change. It is the first proper week of autumn that is all forecasted to be cold, cold, cold. And that means I will be tackling some much needed horror books on my TBR. So the books I will be reading this week range from a few different genres. We've got some extreme horror, we've got some classic horror, a bit of everything. First, I have Cows by Matthew Stokoe. I am terrified to read this. I don't know much about this book apart from the fact that it is very extreme, gruesome horror. I'm kind of terrified because I am a vegetarian and I love cows. So I feel like it's gonna kind of give tender as the flesh vibes. That's a book about the world gone cannibal. I think this is going to be the same kind of energy. Next, we have a book that has been on my TBR for such a long time, and that is Shirley Jackson, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. This is a classic horror thriller book about a murder, and that's all I know. I have only ever seen raving reviews online from the people that I follow, and I take the people that I follow very seriously. Very excited to read this. Next, we have an absolute classic, not just because it is technically a modern classic, but because it is something that I am so shocked that I haven't read yet. I also haven't seen the movie, and that is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I'm sure we are all aware about what American Psycho is about. It is about a man that is a psychopath and how he navigates through life. Next is Brother by Anaya Alborn. This is set in Appalachia, which I think will provide such a scary atmosphere because I have watched way too many TikTok videos and conspiracy theory videos about Appalachia and the creatures. Anyways, the blurb of this sounds very, very intriguing. I would say I am most excited for this book just because it's been in my wish list for so long, and so it feels great to finally have it in my hands. So next is Womb by Duncan Ralston. This has that like kind of weird cover and the pages are really white. I'm pretty sure this is about a hotel room where really horrendous things happen. So these are the books that I will be reading for the next week, and I wanted to kind of take you along with me if you like. So I just made myself a cup of lemon green tea and I am about to start reading Cows by Matthew Stokoe. I am very excited to start it. There's one review on the back of this book that makes me extremely concerned, and it says, "Do you like cows? Do you even have a tinge of faith in the goodness of man? If so, skip this relentlessly violent survey of some taboos you've heard of, and hopefully a few new ones that you would never occur to you." I don't know, the reviews on the back are all like kind of concerning. Anyways, let's just read it. I must talk to you about Cows by Matthew Stokoe. I had to put it down last night. I could not handle it. And I need to tell you something. I love horror. I wouldn't be reading horror books for a week straight unless I loved the genre. Cows was just foul. It was disturbing in the worst way possible. I just can't imagine anyone liking this book. It is essentially about a guy who is in this horrendously abusive power dynamic with his mother at home, and she is really abusive to him. He dreams about having a family as the one depicted on TV. He just wants some normalcy in his life. He gets a job at a slaughterhouse, and then the power dynamic shifts. I had to put it down. I just had to put it down. I couldn't do it. Let's talk about this book so far. Obsessed. I think it's incredible. Our main character we have is Mary Cat. It starts off with a inner dialogue of her saying how much she dreads going to the village near her house, and she has to go there 2 days a week, and whenever she goes there, she hates it. You don't really understand why. Mary Cat goes to the village and the people are horrendous to her. She sounds young. I don't think I've been told an age yet of how old she is, but the village people are so mean to her. It seems like everyone in the village is very on edge when she comes into town. They're all very silent until she leaves, or if they do say something to her face, it's very cryptic almost. Mary Cat hates the villagers back. There's these random descriptive parts where she wishes that the villagers were dead, and it brings this sense of dread. And I did highlight some of it. I wanted to read it to you because it's so interesting. Mary Cat, she's at the store and she's going through the things that she needs. In her inner dialogue, she says, "I wished they were dead. I would have liked to come into the grocery some morning and see them all, even the Alberts and their children, lying there crying with the pain and dying. I would then help myself to groceries, I thought, stepping over their bodies, taking whatever I fancied from the shelves, and go home with perhaps a kick for Mrs. Donnell while she lay there. I was never sorry when I had thoughts like this. I only wished they would come true." This is going so much better than last night and last afternoon when I was reading Cows. God, that book was horrendous. I'm going to finish my coffee, have some breakfast, and then I'm gonna continue reading this. I'm 50 pages in and I wanted to update you because the second chapter had so much information about what happened. At the start, I was confused because I thought that Mary Cat was the one that had been acquitted of the murder of her family. Turns out it's the sister Constance. Constance seems to be agoraphobic almost. So there's 3 people living in the Blackwoods mansion, house, property, whatever it is. And that is Mary Cat, Constance, who was acquitted of murder of the family, and Uncle Julian, who's in a wheelchair, super old, borderline has dementia, seems very forgetful. So these two ladies come to visit Constance to try and convince her to go back into the real world. This is the past. Let's not dwell on the past. You've been acquitted, blah, blah, blah. We pretty much get to the bottom of what happened that night when the family died. Constance is a gardener and she grows majority of the plants that they eat. And what happened was there used to be a large family that lived in the Blackwoods house. One night there was arsenic poisoned in the sugar and the blackberries. And this kind of comes to light throughout the chapter by Uncle Julian telling this lady that came to the house this story. He's being very dramatic. It's very performative almost. Meanwhile, Mary Cat is almost kind of teasing this lady and making her more scared. It's confusing, but it's really fast paced and I'm so incredibly involved. I'm really liking the direction it's going. I'm unsure what I believe, if Constance actually did it. I'm thinking now because Mary Cat has these really violent thoughts about the villagers, and she also had violent thoughts about the ladies who came to visit. In my head, I'm like, what if Mary Cat was actually the one that poisoned her family? All the signs are pointing to Constance, but then that's way too obvious. So yeah, I've gotten a lot off just the second chapter here. Okay, update time. I thought it would be kind of fun to put my mic on the book. I don't know. I am halfway through. Things are getting weird. I don't know what to say that isn't a spoiler. This book is like the definition of gothic horror. I am obsessed with the dark, gloomy vibes. The story has progressed. I am completely enthralled. I definitely think I'll be finishing it today. Where did we leave off? Randomly one rainy night, their cousin Charles comes to their house. He appears and it's a very gloomy, kind of mysterious, thrilling scene. It's pouring rain and he is outside the big wooden door knocking, asking to be let in. There's two stained glass panels on either side of the door. It kind of was giving real atmospheric horror movie scenes. So this next part I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to put a spoiler warning on it because I feel like you shouldn't really know this information. It's nothing super juicy. It's just kind of like a theory I have. So let's talk about Charles. I'm on Mary Cat's side. I think Charles is evil, low-key. I think that he is trying to get his dirty little paws onto the father's fortune. The Uncle Julian he's onto something. When talking about Charles, Uncle Julian says, he is dishonest. His father was dishonest. Both my brothers were dishonest. If he tries to take my papers, you must stop him. I cannot permit tampering with my papers, and I will not tolerate intrusion. You must tell him this, Constance. He is a bastard. He's onto something here, you know? Charles brought up the father's safe. There's this safe upstairs in the father's old study, and it's completely untouched. And he's talking about the safe. He also is wearing the dead father's gold watch. He's been going through his clothes. He's sleeping in the father's bed. It's so strange. At one point, Mary Cat even said, I wonder if he's going to make Constance wear my mother's pearls. And honestly, yeah, like what is happening? He's literally integrating himself into the family like a poison almost. He's poisoning the family. From Mary Cat's perspective, it seems like he's trying to convince Constance to leave the house, which for Mary Cat is kind of like the end of the world, very much feeling like she's getting pushed out. And to be honest, she kind of is. If there's one thing I know, it's that I'm loving this book. It is so atmospheric. Snowball, do you have anything to say? Well put, well put. What a fantastic book. I thoroughly enjoyed Shirley Jackson's writing. I think from the start, we opened the book to the pages of Meerkat, just imagining a world where there's no bad things and she lives on the moon. And it ends in that exact same way. You can see just so many different themes. One of the sisters represents the good sister and one of the sisters represents the bad sister. And it's like this constant weighing of good versus evil until the very end. And it was a ride. It was such a good read. I'd love to see this as a film. I feel like it would make a really good movie. Is there actually a movie based off this book? Let's look it up. There's a movie. Oh wow, there's a movie. I think I might watch this tonight. I have this habit where after I read a good book, I can't just like leave it at that. I have to consume it in many other ways. And now I think I'm going to pick my next book. I'm kind of leaning towards American Psycho, I think will be a good next read. I do really want to watch the movie. So if I read it, I think it'll take me a couple days, and then if it takes me a couple days, I'll be done by Friday night, which means that Friday night, movie night, perfect movie choice, American Psycho. I feel like that'll be really fun. So we'll see.
Along with the doll Father gave Constance, whose eyes can never shut. I nailed the book Father gave me to the pine tree. As long as they remain in place, Constance will be safe.
When you get into Patrick Bateman, and obviously you're not writing autobiographically, I assume, Brett, about dismemberment and murder and so on.
But American Psycho is my most autobiographical novel. That's who I was.
Happy Friday. So, hello. I have been reading American Psycho yesterday and today. I am onto page 161. So Patrick Bateman, he is a full-on psychopath. It's so interesting because there's so many red flags. When I'm reading the book, Patrick Bateman is pretty blatantly being psychopathic and having psychopathic tendencies and murderous tendencies, saying things out loud to these people and they're just not registering. His work colleagues are even, an awful lot about serial killers and they're not clocking it. I don't know, it's strange. I foresee a lot of things happening. I foresee him being found out. Surely it's going to end like that. But it might be one of those books that ends like with a sense of despair. That's kind of fun, actually. I kind of like books that end like that. Not too much of an update for you guys, but I am really enjoying it. I would say I'm nearly halfway through. I've still got a fair bit to go, but it's kind of hard at the moment with my work schedule to find time for reading. I don't even get like a full half an hour lunch break, so it's not even like I can read on my lunch break. I pretty much just read on public transport, which I do a lot of. I've pretty much got 2 hours of public transport a day. I popped open a beautiful bottle of red wine that I got gifted from a dear friend from an old venue I used to work at. It was a farewell gift and it's delicious. They really nailed my taste. I am going to make some dinner, drink some wine, and then sit back and read some more American Psycho. So happy weekend. I get it. I can officially say I get it. I really enjoyed watching the movie of American Psycho. So good. I think that the actor who played Patrick Bateman did such a good job. I forget his name. What's his name? Whatever. Anyways, he did a really good job of portraying that weird kind of maniacal energy. I really enjoyed reading American Psycho. I feel like I've yapped about it quite a bit, but I finished the book and I loved it. It was so entertaining, super fast paced and really enjoyable. It wasn't as gruesome and horrendous as I initially expected, and I really enjoyed how it ended. I loved thinking to myself at the end of American Psycho, did this really happen? Is it a figment of his imagination? Is it just a part of his maniacal, hallucinogenic rage? I listened to a really interesting interview with Bret Easton Ellis at the end of my audiobook, and the interviewer asked Bret Easton Ellis if American Psycho was a autobiographical novel, and he actually said yes. He said, yeah, that's who I was. And I found that very interesting. It's such an interesting concept. At one point, Bret Easton Ellis mentions he's been asked a lot of times if the acts that happened in the book actually happened, or if it was Patrick Bateman's just hallucinogenic rage. And Bret Easton Ellis said, does it even matter? It's a great encapsulation of just the clinical and dehumanizing aura of the finance bro, money-making, 9-to-5 Wall Street sphere. It felt like no one was listening to what anyone was saying throughout the whole book. Everyone was so caught up on how they look, how they're getting perceived, how much money they have, how much money they're pretending to have. It was really dull and lifeless. The whole of Wall Street is in grey. Everything's just dull, lifeless, robotic, clinical. And then the most vibrant part of this novel was murder. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. I'm still marinating on the whole story, but that's what I've gotten so far. I have already finished Brother by Anya Alborn. Full transparency, this is filmed after I finished my week of reading. I somehow lost the footage of talking about this book. I don't know, I feel like it's a YouTube rite of passage to lose footage. So I'm taking it in my stride and refilming, and I think it's a blessing because I have a lot to say about this book that I didn't have to say originally. I tend to struggle to articulate my thoughts in the moment straight after finishing a book. I often write reviews after a few days marinating over the story. So I think it's a good thing. I think it is a good thing. Let's talk about Brother. We follow this murderous family in Appalachia. They murder girls in their dilapidated, gloomy, old, rundown farmhouse in the middle of the woods in Appalachia. There's this really dark, atmospheric tone that just stays throughout the entire story. There's dark, gloomy skies, large trees overshadowing any form of sunlight. It's always damp and moist, and we are introduced to the Murrow family. The Murrow family are the most dysfunctional, murderous family I've ever read about. It was extremely disturbing. I originally thought that this was extreme horror when I first went into it, but it's not. So our main character that we follow is a boy called Michael. He is one of the sons of the Murrow family. He has a brother called Rebel. I know his name is Rebel. His real name is Raymond, but he is determined to be called Rebel, which is really cringe. And then we have Misty, who is the daughter. Michael is seemingly out of place from the get-go. He is very much not wanting to be a part of this family, even though he partakes in scouting for the girls that the mother will eventually dissect and murder. He does play an active part, but you find out really early on that this active part is purely just out of survival. The entire family is revolved around the mother. She is the forefront and the inner eye of just this tornado of dysfunctional, abusive family dynamics. But Michael is seemingly the only one that isn't necessarily ruled by his mother. He definitely is, but he more so is under his brother Rebel's thumb. Rebel is very manipulative, very conniving. He uses Michael's feelings against him. Rebel takes Michael to this record store in town, and this is a rare occasion. Michael is never really allowed to go into town. They're not allowed to interact with civilization and the real world. Once they reach this record store, Michael is quickly fallen and becomes smitten with one of the girls that works there. I need to mention something about this family. They are cannibals. It's horrendous. I did not expect, and I feel like I say this about a lot of novels. I mean, it might be my favorite thing to say, but I really didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I did. I always associated Brother along the likes of extreme horror novels like Cows. So I really, especially after reading Cows the other day, I did not expect to enjoy Brother at all. I expected it to be similar to Cows, where it's just gruesome, 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 and not much plot. But immediately you were hit with a really enriching plot with a lot of layers. You learn early on how Michael has been integrated into this family, and there is a few plot twists that you don't see coming. The ending of this book had my jaw on the ground. I was shook. You are immediately hit with this likable character. Michael is not unlikable. You can understand why he does what he does. You can see it happen in real time as you are reading it. You empathize with him. Why is he stuck in this horrible family? Tries so hard to fit in. He tries so hard to love. He always wants to protect his sister Misty, who is the daughter who gets stuck at home and has to cop the brunt of the mother's abuse. The mother is a whole nother kettle of fish. That's a whole nother layer of this story that I would love to dissect and go into. She is the forefront of this dysfunctional family unit. Everything spreads around her, and she is inherently jealous of her daughter. In the real world, something that I find very interesting in dysfunctional family units is that the mothers always view their daughters as direct reflections of themselves. That is why mothers tend to favor the sons. And I think that the abuse in the family dynamic in this book represents that concept so well. She is horrible, horrible to Misty. This is a high rating for me, and I did not expect that. When opening the first page, I devoured this within a day, and I loved it. And I'm kind of glad that my footage did disappear of me reading about this, because I felt so confused and convoluted about this book, because I went in thinking that it was going to be like Cows, and then I was thrown into this horrible story where I felt so bad for the main character, and you empathize with him. Pleasantly surprised with this book, surprised with how high I rated it, and yeah, on with the video. So it is the end of the week and I have finished reading horror books. If you've made it this far, I love you. I appreciate you and thank you for sticking by. I ended up reading 4 books: American Psycho, Brother, Cows, and We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I loved bringing in autumn with horror books. I found it so fun. I loved reading a specific genre for the week and I will definitely be looking to do more videos like this. It was genuinely a really fun time for me to not only film but also to read these books. I had the best time. And if you like it, please let me know. Thank you so much once again for watching and I appreciate the support more than you could imagine. Bye.